Hello everyone. So how to rig an arm using pin bones. This is the video all about this instruction. So this is the right arm I have already rigged. See, you can make anything to this arm. You can make it shorter, longer, doesn't matter how you want. So it is the best way to rig an arm, I think. To me, I always rig an arm using this technique, using pin bones. So I'll show you how you can rig an arm using pin bones. Okay, to do this, make sure you are on the first frame, otherwise nothing will work. To draw a perfect arm shape, you have to turn on the grid system. Okay, I'm enabling the grid, and after enabling the grid, I'm going to the grid setting, and my grid style will be square and spacing is going to be 20. Okay, now I'm creating two layers. One is for my upper arm and another one is for my lower arm. Now I'll go to the upper arm layer and draw the upper arm. I'm selecting the draw shape and choose, and the rectangle is already selected. Now I will draw a rectangle for my upper arm. First of all, I have to select the fill color. Fill color will be the skin color of this character. Now I'm drawing a rectangle for my upper arm. This is my upper arm. This is the part of the t-shirt, and the t-shirt color is red. Now I'm filling the fill color will be the red. Okay, now I will add some points here to give it a circle shape, also 2 points here, and using the transform point I'll make it a little bit round. So make sure the top side and the bottom side is round. Okay, this is my upper arm. Now I'm going to the lower arm layer and I'll draw the lower arm using the same rectangle tool. Make sure your fill color is the skin color. Now I'll give it a circle shape as well. So I'm creating points here using transform tool. Okay, now I'll move it to the upper arm, at the top of the upper arm, using this transform tool. Okay, now what I want is both of the layers should be inside of a single group. So I'm selecting both of the layer using shift. Now I do a right click and you'll see a group with selection. Now both of the layers inside a group. Now what I have to do, I have to create another new layer for the bone. Okay, the bone layer is created. So the group I created earlier, I have to move it to the inside the bone layer. See, both of the layers, lower and upper arms group is inside the bone layers group. Make sure you have done this, otherwise I'm going to the bone layer group to create some bones. Now I'm selecting the add bone tool, and first I'm creating a pin bone. See, pin bone is created, it's red. Now I'm going to draw a regular bone. This is another regular bone. Now I have to create another pin bone at the middle of two joint, upper arm and lower arms joint. This is the joint. I'm creating another pin bone to make sure none of the bone is selected. So to do this, you have to select the select bone tool and press anywhere where there is no any bone. Okay, now a single bone is selected. Now I'm creating another bone, pin bone. I select add bone tool, click, this is the pin bone, and here I'll create another regular bone. Okay, this is the regular bone. So for the upper arm, both of the pin bones are created with two regular bones. Now I need two more regular bones for the lower arm. Okay, so make sure you select the joint pin bone first. So I'm selecting the select bone tool and clicking on the pin bone, this pin bone. Okay, this pin bone is selected. I think you guys can see this pin bone is red. Now click on the add bone button to create another regular bone. Okay, I created another regular bone. Now make sure none of the bone is selected. So I'm deselecting everything by selecting on a blank space. Now I'm creating another pin bone here where my hand will be joined. Okay, the pin bone is created. Now here inside the pin bone, I have to draw another regular bone. Okay, I've drawn another regular bone. Now I don't want any of the arm or any part of the arm should be controlled with regular bones. So I want to control every part of the arm with the pin bones. In order to do this, you have to select every single bone with the bone select tool and go to the bone strength tool and drag by long pressing and go to the left side. Now see, the bone strength is on the 0 level. This is what you have to do to the every bone. Okay, now we have to bind every single points where we want to, or which part we want to control with pin bones. I'm going to start with the upper arm. Okay, now I'm going to select this, the upper regular bone using the bone select tool. To do this, you have to first select the bone layer. And I have selected the bone layer. Now make sure nothing is selected. Then just select this bone, first bone, regular first bone. Now what I will do, I'll select the upper arm layer. Then I'm going to select the points which I want to control with this bone. Okay, I've selected every single points. Now what I have to do, I have to go to the tool which is bind points tool. I've selected this one. You see there is a bind points button. Click it. Now every points is binded with this bone. I have to do this every single points with every single regular bone. So let's do this. Now make sure none of the bone is selected. Okay, now nothing is selected. So make sure only this bone is selected. Then you have to select these select points and select every point you want to control with. These are the points I want to control with this bone. Now go to the bind points tool and bind points. Okay, same thing for other bones as well. So now the rest of the two bones are for the lower arms. Now go to the lower arm layer and select this bone, only this bone. Okay, make sure none of the bones are selected except only this bone. Okay, I've selected this bone. Now I'm selecting the points I want to control with this bone and go to the bind points tool and I'm binding the points. Okay, same thing. Make sure none of the bones are selected. Select only this bone and the points you want to control with. Okay, these are the points I want to control. Now I'm selecting the bind points tool again and bind points. Okay, now let's see the result. What happened? To see the result, make sure you are on the keyframes. I'm selecting the 7th or 8th frame. Now what I have to do, I have to select the bone layer and this transform bone tool. Now I'm making some changes by selecting the pinboard. See, everything is working almost fine. Not 100% fine, but we'll fix it. See, our bones, our arms are getting bigger and smaller very easily. The problem is, it is behaving weirdly. Why it is doing this? Because we have to rotate properly the regular bones. See, this bone is not rotating, this regular bone is rotating. Note, this regular bone is not rotating as well. This bone is not rotating. This bone is not rotating. So to make it work perfectly, what we have to do, we have to rotate this bone like this. Also have to rotate this bone like this. We have to rotate this bone like this. We have to rotate this bone like this. So how to do this properly? This pin bone. This bone is following this pin bone and this bone is following this pin bone. If you can do this properly, then there will be no any weird behavior. So let's fix it. First of all, make sure you're on the first frame. So I'm deleting every single frame here. Click this button. Now you are on the first frame. Now carefully follow this step. What I have said, that this bone should follow this pin bone. So make sure you know the name of this bone before making any changes to those bones. So I'm selecting the select bone tool. Click on the bone, this bone. The name of this bone is B2. Okay, remember B2, and this B2 bone should follow the bone, this pin bone. Okay, I'm selecting this pin bone. The name of this pin bone is B3. So you understand, I think. B2 should follow B3. Now I'm selecting B2. And after selecting B2, you'll see here bone constraint tool button. And after going there, just select which bone do you want to follow. I want to follow B3. Okay, I have selected B2 bone. B2 bone should follow B3. Okay, target, it is targeting B3 bone. Same thing for this bone as well. This bone should follow this pin bone, and the name of this bone is B4, and B4 should follow this pin bone. The name of this pin bone is B1. B4 should follow B1. I'm selecting B4 and going to the bone constraints tool, and this should follow B1. While you do this, make sure you are on the first frame, otherwise nothing will work. Same thing here, I'm selecting this B5 bone. B5 bone should follow this pin bone. The name of this pin bone is B6. B5 should follow B6. B6. Same thing for this bone as well. The name of this bone is B7. B7 should follow this pin bone. B3. B7 should follow B3. I'm selecting B7 and it should follow B3. Okay. Now let's see how it behaves now. To see the changes, I have to select a frame, keyframe. I'm zooming out a little bit and I am selecting this bone transform tool. hopefully everything will work fine. See, everything is working fine. There is no any weird behavior. See, everything is working fine. Now we are going to add the hand. So I have a group with a lot of hands. So this is why I want to make it a switch layer. So I am selecting this layer and converting it to a switch layer. See, there is a option called convert to switch. Okay, I've converted this group to a switch layer group, and make sure this group is inside of this bone layer group. Okay, see here at the above of lower and upper arm. Don't make any mistake here, otherwise it will not work. And also make sure you are at the first frame. I'm now at the first frame. Now what I will do, I'll create another normal bone, a regular bone, to control this hand. So I'm pressing the add bone button, and make sure you have selected this pin bone. Okay, I've added this bone now. And now what I want to do, I want to bind this whole left hand layer, group. To do this, first I have to select this bone using the select bone tool, and now select this left hand group. Here you will see a tool called bind layer tool. Click it, then select the bone you want to bind the hand with, this one. Okay, now I am zooming out a little bit because I want to take this hand here. So I'm selecting this set origin tool, and I'll create origin here because this is the place where we want our pivot point to be. I'm selecting this one. Okay, I've selected this one and I have to move this using this button, transform layer button. Let's move this. Here you guys can clearly see the position of my hand, and bones are not in the center of this arm. I'll fix it later. Make sure the pivot point you have created is inside in the middle of this pin bone. Okay, I think this is correct place. Now I'm zooming out and I'll create another pin bone to control this hand. So let's create another pin bone. I'm selecting the add bone button, and this is the new pin bone I have created. And now what I have to do, I have to set a parent for this pin bone. So I'm selecting the reparent bone. So I want to parent this pin bone to this pin bone, this one. Click here. No, it is not selected. Not yet, not yet. No, the parent is now this regular bone. I don't want this regular bone to be parented to this new pin bone. So keep trying. Okay, see, this pin bone is selected. That means now this pin bone is the parent of this new pin bone. Hopefully everything will work fine now. Let's try. I'm selecting one keyframe. Okay, let's delete every keyframe from here. Okay, I'm selecting again the keyframes. So try to control the arm first. No, it's not working. So this is not working. So what is the problem? The problem is, if you rotate this regular bone, you see the hand is rotating. So what we want to do, we want this regular bone to follow this pin bone. Okay, so we have done something like this before, so it is very easy for us now. So I'm again going to the first frame. So what we want to do now, we want this regular bone to follow this pin bone. So let's do this. I'm selecting this regular bone. Make sure none of other bone is not selected, only this bone is selected. The name of this bone is B8. See, B8, and we want to follow this B9 bone. B8 should follow B9, so we're going to select this B8 bone and bone constraint. And which one should follow this bone? B9. Okay, hopefully it will work now. So I'm saving. I'm going to a keyframe and selecting this bone transform tool, and if I move it now, see, everything is working fine. Let's zoom it out a bit, and I am disabling the grid. See, everything is working fine. This one, hopefully it will work fine as well. See, it's working fine. I think our arm is created successfully. See? Okay, let's change this left arm a bit. See? You can choose any of the hand now. Still, it will work fine. Okay, it is working fine. Beautifully. Okay, so we want the bones we have created in the middle of this arm. Let's do this. First, I'm deleting every frame, and with this bone select tool or the layer, this whole layer should be selected. I'm selecting the whole layer. Okay, I'm zooming in a bit and moving this to the left. Okay, now I think the bone is in the middle of this arm. Now I have to make a bit change to this hand as well. The hand should be here. I think it is fine now. Okay, now let's go to what I have done is wrong, because it will not work. But the problem I made is I'm not on the first keyframe. Okay, see, everything is as earlier as before. Nothing has changed. So make sure you have deleted every keyframe. You are on the first frame. I'm now on the first frame. Now I'm going to select this layer and move it to here, and selecting hand, left hand, and moving it to there. Okay, now I'm going to keyframe to test it out if everything is working fine or not. Okay, let's zoom this out a little bit and see, everything is working fine. See? See? Everything is working perfect. This is how you can rig your arm using a pin bone. Okay? Now what I will do, I'll take this arm where it belongs to. I'm deleting every keyframe, and this is the layer of this arm. Okay, this one. I'm moving this here where it belongs to, and make sure this layer is at the bottom of the every other layer, because this is left hand. Okay, below the body layer here. Okay, make some changes. See? See, everything's working fine. I'm changing the hand. I don't want this hand. I want this or this hand. This hand is fine. See, everything's working fine. Hopefully you guys have idea now how you guys can rig an arm using pin bone. Thank you very much.